Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. It's really great to have you today. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. James Lee. James, so good to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be back. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done a show like this, and I'm looking forward to it. I always have a great time with you.
Well, this is an important show. We have a show today. We're going to be talking about Lyme disease, and Lyme disease is seems to be growing exponentially in the country. According to Bay Area, Lyme disease is now 620,000 people diagnosed per year with Lyme disease. And, people are going, well, what's this caused by? Well, it's caused by something called the black-legged tick or a deer tick. And, it is curable if you catch it in the first, I believe it's 10 to 20 days and take antibiotics and things like that for it. There are early symptoms. They say that you might have a fever or fatigue or muscle aches, things like that. But if you don't catch it in those first 20 days, and a lot of people don't, because this is a disease that stays in the body if it's not treated. And if all of a sudden you get the flu or you get something, some other autoimmune disease or something like that nature, Lyme tends to come out at that time, and it can wreak havoc in the body, which is why I wanted to talk about it today.
Yes, and the problem with the long-term sequelae of Lyme disease is it mimics, well, they're vague symptoms. You're fatigued, you have joint pains, you have flu-like symptoms, and that really could be anything. And that makes it tough for the individual to kind of deal with these things and in the right way.
It really does. Early blood tests, they say, can miss the disease completely. So you have to really find somebody that's an expert in Lyme disease that's going to really help you. So we have an expert in it. Unfortunately, he's gone through it. It's very close to my heart right now. I have a 17-year-old grandson that was diagnosed with Lyme disease long term, and he's doing a lot of protocols. The whole family's learning about a lot of stuff to be able to, heal this in this young man's body. So it's rampant out there, and it's kind of creating a perfect storm for some people that is really taking them to understand a whole bunch about their bodies that they didn't want to know, and about their environments that they probably didn't want to know either. But it's not all bad. There's some good news around it. We're going to talk about that as soon as we bring our guest on here. So I'm going to take a break. We'll be right back with our very special guest talking all about Lyme disease today.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. I'm here with Dr. James Lee and also our very special guest, Mr. Randy Smith. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here with you, Kenny.
Yeah. Well, listen, you and I have known each other for, I don't know, a few decades now. And, I do remember when you were diagnosed with this. Actually, it took a long time to get diagnosed with it. And, you were in pain. You were going through a lot of different challenges. You can tell your story, but, I remember it. And I remember how devastating it seemed to be because, at first you didn't know. So what happened with you? What's your story around this?
Well, it's been a 11-year journey, and our connection was, one of activity. We were avid mountain bikers and into scuba and, just using very athletic. And so being in nature a lot, and not thinking that there were ticks in our neck of the woods, which is San Diego, really not thinking I was susceptible to catching a tick. And so not really conscious at all of that, and therefore always in nature, always in the woods, and never really doing what was necessary to prevent catching a tick. Never looking my body over, never wearing long clothes, never coming back and taking a shower, not wearing anything to protect me from ticks. So I got a tick, I picked up a tick, and I got Lyme disease.
Yeah.
So
Well, let me also, I mean, this is, you own, you're an entrepreneur, and like you said, you're kind of a lifelong adventurer, and you've also, up to this point, you spent about 30 years shaping the San Diego County as a respected land developer, real estate developer, and income property investor. You're founder of a thriving construction company, and you did a lot of things, so this must have really hit you hard.
Well, it definitely cut me to the core, like it does to most people. And so it certainly became a journey of healing. And like James and I were talking about, it's you become an expert. I mean, there's a choice here. You can kind of just succumb and surrender and kind of go down the rabbit hole of a victim, or you can hit it proactively. And I became an expert with my wife and my family, and we started looking at the different modalities. And it's kind of we chose. Well, let me say one thing. If you catch it early, you can treat it with the antibiotics. Within the first 30 days, and I did not, because it's this mystery of symptoms that I was unaware of. And so I kept trying various things, and nothing healed the problem. And so I spent 4 months looking at things. And by that time, Lyme became chronic. And
So 4 months into it.
And that I think that happens to a lot of people. There's this misdiagnosis syndrome or maze that happens. And you went through that. I know, I watched you, what was that like?
Well, I'm curious, just at the beginning, do you remember that target bullseye lesion? No. So yeah, that doesn't happen all the time. There's a really specific lesion that occurs with Lyme disease. It's called a bullseye or target lesion, and it looks like a little target that's on your leg usually when you get a tick. But if you don't have it, there's really no other clear sign that it's Lyme disease that you're suffering. So
in a perfect world, you'd get that, because then you have a direction you'd know. So I went through all kinds of testing, and I got false negatives a lot. The Western blot, didn't show up until I went to specialists who I got testing that were specialists in Lyme.
Yes.
But I didn't even know to go to specialists, because I didn't know I had Lyme. I thought I had Epstein-Barr. It was that simple,
Well, and even the testing that you need to undergo for Lyme disease is very specific, very specialized. It is just a regular blood test. So you have to know to look for Lyme disease to even think about these tests. So I can see why it was difficult to pick up.
And certainly no insurances cover these things, because Lyme is even recognized. It may be now, but when I started the journey in 2014, it wasn't recognized as really I don't know if it recognized as a disease, but it was never covered by insurance. Everything I needed to do was out of pocket. And I didn't mind that. I had enough people to pay whatever I wanted, but frankly, very expensive testing involved.
Well, I want to say that that's something I'd like to bring awareness to in the show. That the insurance companies still are not recognizing it at the level they need to. I know that my grandson, they had to pay $2,000 out of pocket to get the diagnosis for this. Their insurance didn't cover it through traditional medical protocols, nor did necessarily the AMA protocols even work. I mean, they went to their doctor and stuff. The doctor didn't get it. So I think it's kind of this is something we need to bring awareness to the doctors and to the insurance companies, that this is a real thing. As I mentioned, 620,000 people a year are being infected by this disease, according to the Bay Area, I think it's Bay Area Lyme Disease Foundation. So this is big. This is big, and it's not something that's going away. It seems to be growing for some reason.
It's go ahead.
No, I had no idea that in this particular case, insurances weren't keeping up with it. Even as a physician, you have to, when you get the disease, you become an expert at it. Like, I didn't even know that. When you're talking about 600,000 cases a year, that is sizable, but drop in the bucket in terms of other diseases that are happening throughout the world. So I can see why there's a little bit of a lag in coverage, but I certainly wasn't aware of that even as a physician. So that's surprising and concerning.
Very much so. Yeah. Well, listen, I gotta take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk to you, Randy, because listening to the body's wisdom has a lot to do, I think, in shortcut some of the misinformation and the wondering, do I have Lyme or not? So let's talk about that when we get back from this break.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So, if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call, so please call right now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. We're talking with Randy Smith, a contractor developer who contracted Lyme disease. And Randy,
Didn't exactly contract it. It was kind of like put on me. I had no choice.
all right. Listen, let's talk about the body's wisdom. I'm a big fan of tuning into the body, listening to our intuition, shifting to that model. Did this happen for you? Did you go into this? Did you know like your body at that point, to the point where you would listen to it, or where were you with it?
Zero wisdom. None. I mean, it was it was gut it out, man up. That's what I was taught. So it didn't exist. And so I did have the good news for me is I did have interest in personal development. I did have, and I'd always been not always, but since the early 40s, had a very severe interest in personal development. So that was a catalyst for growth. But regarding listening to the body, never. Man up, gut it out. Traditional male ways of being, you don't listen at all. And so that was the beginning. Honestly, it was I had to be different. I had to make new choices, and I had to start thinking more from a holistic perspective. I was not getting the answers from the AMA. The doctors were not giving me good answers, and I was not making any headway in terms of feeling better at all. So I had to be my own MD, so to speak. And that was about, like I said, a holistic approach, listening to my body and feeling into that. So that was when I started that journey.
What was the turning point for you? I mean, no one ever starts out, not listening to the body and then gradually uh, coming to grips with that. It's usually you go on for a while and you're just sick of it one day and you decide to do it. Was that the case for you? Was there a turning point for you?
Well, pain gets your attention for sure, and lots of pain and mysterious pain with no answers, no medicine I could take. Nothing helped me with pain. And my symptoms were certainly brain fog was always very extreme, and not being able to think clearly is scary when you can't think the way you're used to thinking. Nerve pain, which frankly I still have a little bit of that. I think that's what's left. The Lyme is gone, but the nerve pain is still there. But so back to the question, pain was what got my attention, and I could not just gut it out anymore. And I did build a new relationship with pain. So I was able to function, and yet it still made me, not made me, but I chose to go on a journey of introspection and a holistic approach.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is an important piece. I know in life, we are growing, we are evolving. There's a reason for everything, right? And part of that is to look at, what's happening mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually in our bodies. And a lot of times we have to get to those deeper levels of understanding before the actual healing takes place. Did that happen for you?
Absolutely. And frankly, those 600,000 people that have it, my suspicion is that most don't have a curiosity or a desire to do the inner work. And so I was very aware that I needed to do the inner work, because I always believe everything happens for a reason. I think many people believe that. I know for me, I believed it forced me, being an athlete, being somebody who's very active, it forced me to look elsewhere because I wasn't getting answers from medicines or anything else. I had to do that work. And so I did approach it from a mind, body, spirit. I mean, after a couple of years of pain, I started meditating deeper. I started really doing journaling. I started looking. I did lots of personal development. Dr. and Chris Duncan and self-realization challenge. I did their programs. I did all these things to find answers, to find out what the root cause of this disease was about, because it is a disease and with self.
So it was more than just the tick. The tick led you to a journey of self-discovery and probably self-realization in many ways. What's your advice to somebody that's starting out on the journey?
You look at it from a holistic approach. You can't throw medicine at it because it's probably not going to solve it. These spirochetes are tricky little bastards. I mean, they have these biofilms. They come in, they look like almost sperm. They go in your body, and they're hard to detect. You have special microscopes to really detect spirochetes. You can't even see them in your body. They also create biofilms, which protects them from any kind of antibiotics. So people often use antibiotics to try to kill them, and it doesn't work. They just go to a different place. So for me, I had to approach it from every modality possible. I could speak to a lot of those modalities, but at least 10 different modalities that I hit the spirochetes with. And, cryogenics, ozone, red light, stem cells, acupuncture, you name it. And I could speak to the value of each one of those things it gave me. And that's just kind of those modalities, but I could also talk to the places I went, the different things I did, and they were not traditional at all. You asked me the question, what advice would I give somebody? I'd say, I think you have to look outside the box, and you have to be your own MD to really listen to your body and diagnose it yourself, and do your own research and use them all, because one approach is not going to work. And I know people that are trapped, been 20 years fighting this and are not any better, and their life has been so diminished. I can say that my life is full, and it continues to be full, and I can only say that it was the holistic approach that allowed me to get to a place where I could continue to live my life the way I wanted to, despite having Lyme disease. And it's a stigma, and it's an identity. People get in Lyme groups, and now this is my identity. I've got problems, and they get in groups and they become that person who has Lyme disease.
No, you'd certainly have to work. You certainly have to work on becoming more than a victim. I'll share really quickly what happened for me. I suffered a brain tumor and a neck injury, two separate things that kept me out for almost a decade. So in terms of coming back from serious illness, I completely understand where you're coming from. My curiosity is, in my case, I was able to get the diagnosis and direct all of my energies towards what I knew was going on. It sounds like the opposite case for you. Were you treating yourself first and then realizing you're getting better and said, "Oh, this must have been Lyme disease," or did you get some sort of diagnosis first and had a direction to attack?
I mean, that's spot on. I mean, you have to know where to go. That's what's most frustrating with Lyme. You really don't know where to go. You had specifics, you knew where to go, you knew how to heal it. With Lyme disease, it's this elusive symptoms, and when you're just treating symptoms, you're kind of all over the map, and there's no resolve. And so
how did you get the diagnosis? Where did that come? How did that come about?
So I started with Western blot. Western blot gave me a negative outcome, and I took a bunch of Western blot, negative, negative, negative. Okay, I don't have Lyme disease. Must be something else. But eventually I went to a specialist, and I got a Lyme specific. I shouldn't bash Western blot, but I just got a bunch of negatives, which I eventually got a test and spent a lot of money on a very comprehensive Lyme test, and I did get a positive. And finally I knew this is where to go. And now let's start going after this thing full force with everything, and all these various protocols. So
how long?
Let me ask you this. Because you'd mentioned you did the alternative treatments. You did the Lyme Clinic in Reno, PRP, stem cell, ozone, acupuncture, IVs, red light, hyperbaric chambers, tinctures, cryogenics, Ayurvedic practices, supplements and clean diet. If you're listening to this show, and and fortunately, Randy, you've got the money to do all these things. A lot of people don't have the money to do all these things. So, out of all that, were there a few that were like, this is the one that seemed to turn the corner for me, or was it just all of them at one, coming in at different levels and healing different things? What's your thought on that?
I feel bad for people that don't have the resources to do that. Yeah. So I would say, if I were to choose one thing, is it's take your. I had to change my focus. My life was about doing this, getting things done and building the business, making money, taking care of kids, and I had to shift my focus to healing. So, number one, that's a hard shift from somebody who's super identified with what I get done in any given day or what athletic accomplishment I did. And so shifting it to healing. So what I did is I took myself out of my environment with my wife. Thank goodness. Thank you, Deb. And going to a clinic where this is what I did 24 hours a day. And I focused on it. I went to a clinic in Reno. They didn't allow these protocols in California because it was Ayurvedic and it was not legal in California. So I went to Nevada and I went there and I spent 6 weeks there, rented a condo, and every day went to the clinic, got IVs, red light, ozone, you name it. I got everything, ozone daily. And the main protocol, which was interesting, and I would suggest generically, and then I can speak specifically to it, but generically, get yourself out of your home where you're out of your comfort zone and focus on your health 24/7. So you're thinking about your mind, body, and spirit, only that, not thinking about the sink needs a repair or your kids need X. If you can find a way to get out of your environment, that's what I would suggest. And so that's what I did.
Okay, we know stress causes a lot of disease. So do you think you reduce the stress, maybe let the body heal, being out of the environment, focusing on healing? Is that what we're saying here?
That's what we're saying.
Okay.
Get out of the stress.
Get out of
your environment that it calls you to do other than just thinking about healing.
All right, listen, I got to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about a subject a lot of people don't focus on, and that's the spiritual aspect of this healing. And so we're going to focus on that when we get back from this break. All right.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. We're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. Listen, I'll be right back with my guest, Randy Smith, in just a moment, but I want to mention to all of you, if you go over to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe there and never miss a show. I think even more importantly is you can pass those shows on to family members and people you care about. So if you go to youtube.com/@thecouragenetwork, youtube.com/@thecouragenetwork. And if you'll do that, you'll never miss a show. Randy, okay, faith as a healing force has been shown by neuroscientists, by faith healers, by the testimonials of literally millions of people, that this is a very important aspect of the healing journey. How did that show up for you?
I think you have to start with I hear some reverb, but in the background, but that may be just on my end. What I would say is, you have to trust that for me, I had to trust that everything happens for a reason. And so I do believe that if I had not had this Lyme disease, I would continue on the path that I was on. It wasn't a bad path. I mean, I was good to my family and good to my friends, and it's not like I was on a bad path, but there's a deeper journey that I was necessary for me to go on. And I believe it served my spiritual evolution, if you will. So I was willing to commit time and take and have the rigor and discipline to stay on the practice of meditation and mantras and healing. So I don't believe and it was really because of the pain, it's a reminder that something needs to happen. The pain is the reminder. For me, the pain was necessary for me to stay rigorous to the process of listening to spirit and healing myself and others. So
that didn't happen right away, though. I'm sure, because I endured similar episodes of pain with my brain tumor and my neck injury, but at the beginning it was I was still the only way I could put it, I was angry about it. I was angry and depressed about it for a long time, and it took a while for me to get to the point where I welcome the pain, to say, you know what, at least this is teaching me something. It's telling me to do something here. How long did it take for you to make that realization?
So there's a shift for me, it's personal development. I really had an interest in personal development. I'm part of a men's group. So that was kind of at the core, but there's a shift from personal development, which is really heady, the heady part of, I've got shadow and I need to look at that. And then there's the deeper connection with spirit. So you ask, how long did it take? A year, maybe more. Certainly I was throwing everything, and I was busy at seeing doctors. So I'd say at least a couple years. That's the timeline pretty much for me to figure out that there's more than just the disease, but there's the journey of, okay, what is this about? Why is this in my life? How do I solve this? How do I find peace while being in pain? How do I manage my life? And so all these questions I'm looking for answers for, and I'm not finding by the traditional methods. Yeah. I have to listen, and I have to delve deeper. And so that's why I started going to, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He was helpful. I did lots of different things to try to find answers.
Nice. Well, persistence seems to be the key with Lyme disease, and I know that was a piece for you. And of course, pain is a great motivator. I mean, if you didn't have the pain, maybe you wouldn't have, pursued all the different modalities that you did. On your journey with being persistent, what'd you learn? What'd you learn about yourself? What'd you learn? It's like, if you kind of reflect back and you go, well, what was this really about? What was all this about? What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that how important this spiritual journey is in kind of evolving as a being, as a person, that this is fundamental to the growth process. And I believe we're here to, this is why I'm here. I believe this is why we're all here, that journey. And I think at the end of the day, when it all comes to an end, that movement, that growth is the juice. It's my life would, if I didn't see meaning in everything, and looking for meaning in everything, I think it would be, life becomes less rich. So the journey for me was recognizing the value of the spiritual journey and recognizing how much more it gave to my life.
For me, I completely agree. For me, it was elucidated as I was recovering. My family took me out to a Chinese restaurant, and at the end, we cracked open our fortunes, and usually laugh about them. They're usually silly. I cracked mine open, and I was crying. My wife asked me, "What does it say?" And how happy is the man who has everything taken away and given it half back? And I read that, and tears streaming down my eyes, because I truly, truly believed that. I was thankful for what happened to me, because I can now live the rest of my life appreciating what I had, as opposed to before. Like you said, I thought I was fine. I was doing great. I had friends. I had a career. I had a great life. But I don't think I had a level of appreciation that was commensurate to that life. And now I believe that is there. And I think that's what you're talking about. I mean, describe that for me.
Well, the words I use are perfection. If you do perceive life to be all perfect, you see it as everything that comes to you for a rhyme or a reason, And so if you're not feeling victimized, I think what gets in the way of healing is feeling like you've been victimized by this. And if you go there, if I end up in that place where life is being done to me, and
why me?
Yeah, it's not fun, and it's kind of over. But if you do recognize it as an opportunity, as a growth opportunity, because it is truly that. And I always saw it that way, and so I kind of, every opportunity that came my way, I would seize it and recognize that it is a growth opportunity. There's no victims here. And if you go there, the healing process is a longer road, I would say.
I think you were going to say, it's not about life doing things to you, but life doing things for you. And it's hard, it's when you're in pain, it's hard to think, oh, life's doing this for me. Yeah. It's like, and if pain feels like we're going to be in pain the rest of our life. But the truth is, if you do the work, most likely that's not going to be your outcome. What's going to be your outcome is you're going to be able to look back with some eyes of understanding, eyes of compassion for others that have this, eyes of wisdom, to realize how this has helped you grow, learn, develop, and be a better person. Not personality, but a better soul, I would like to say, or a clearer soul. Maybe that's what it is. You resonate with that, Randy?
Absolutely. And I would also say one of the gifts was a lot more compassion for people in pain, and certainly people that have Lyme disease, but pain just in general, really, really feeling into that and just not being detached from it, but connected to it, and not getting enmeshed in it, but having compassion. And I think that's an important part of having pain, is understanding pain. For people in pain, I was pretty oblivious to that. I lived 60 years without pain and having no health issues, zero. And then all of a sudden having a lot of pain, but I didn't have any empathy for people who were going through it. I do now, a ton of it.
One of the things in medicine that is extremely frustrating is there is no test for pain. It is you can't assess anybody else's pain other than their ability to tell you what they're feeling. But since going through this process, Randy, you and I know, we can see it in people's faces now. I know when people are in pain. I know when they're saying they're in pain or when they're truly in pain. But there's no way to test for it. So that level of frustration still exists in those that haven't gone through what we have, Randy. So I understand what you're saying.
So I have a question for you, Randy. When you're in pain, like, how do you rise and shine and feel good about your day? How do you do that? What do you do? What do you tell yourself, right? When you're in pain, what do you do?
That's a really, really good question, because it really, for me, I had to build a relationship with pain. And I've been told, my wife tells me all the time, I don't know how you do life and still have a good attitude about it. So I had to build a relationship with pain. So where I could still find joy in the moment and and recognize that I was experiencing pain. So how do I do that? I I had to, I guess I can't even put words to it, but I had to build a relationship with pain. I had to recognize the blessings and be grateful for what I have. I mean, loving family, um, you know, health, and resources to help me through it. I guess stay in the place of gratitude, recognizing all the gifts that I have. I think that's probably comes down to that, is recognizing the gift that I have in my life.
At some level, did you have to feel the pain to make the change?
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, and I say that because a lot of times, medicine will give us a lot of drugs or, something to relieve the pain, right? And that's a good thing, right? But when you have chronic pain, at some point, what do you do? What do you do, right?
Well, Randy's talking about developing a relationship with pain. And as an anesthesiologist, what he's talking about is really self-anesthesia, verbal anesthesia. I know as an anesthesiologist, a patient's experience is going to affect their pain levels. For me personally, when I was going through this process, if I got angry about my life, if I asked why me, I noticed immediately my pain got worse. I mean, it's linked with your emotional state. And what Randy's talking about, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but when you are appreciative of your life, when you're grateful for things, when you think about your warm home and your loving wife and your beautiful kids, that actually helps to relieve the pain. You're putting your mind in a different state, and you're sort of distracting yourself from the pain. And more than that, you're building yourself up to protect yourself against it. And that's what I think he's talking about in terms of building this relationship with pain, getting to a point where, you know what, you don't hate it. You're not angered by it, but you accept it in your life. And I think that's what he's talking about.
Spot on. And maybe you don't have a loving wife, and maybe you don't have a warm home. Maybe you don't have those things, but there are things that you do have. And so you just got to look for them. You got to find the things that give you joy. And so it can be anything. And I'd like to listen to something that's funny every day, more than once, something that just makes me laugh, that gives me joy. There's some funny people out there, and that alone will shift my pain. So, find joy whatever that is. Laughter is a beautiful remedy for pain.
Yeah. Wow, this has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Randy. And we got a large audience listening to this right now. What are your final words of wisdom for somebody that's going through this Lyme disease?
It's healable. You can do this. I'd say the inner journey is crucial. There is pain involved with the process, but I think my final words are, don't forget about that part of the journey, because it's crucial. The holistic approach. You can't just hit it with medications. You have to hit it with mind, body, spirit. They all are crucial to the process of healing. And if you ignore part of one of those, body or mind or spirit, you may not get why it's here. So that's the gift. It is a gift. You can't look at it as it's been done to you. You have to recognize it's a gift. So use all those resources. That's my message.
I love it. Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate this time with you. It's been an honor, quite frankly. Dr. James, final thoughts?
I love the way he's talking about it. You really have to approach it and wrap your head around the fact that sometimes life doesn't work out your way. It doesn't work out perfectly. And our initial reaction is to be angry. Our initial reaction is to ask, why me? And what, am I the only one? No, everyone has to deal with certain things in their lives. And when they do, you realize that we all share that, maybe to different levels. If you have to go through the pain yourself, that's one way to learn. If you can listen and hear what happened to others, that's another way to learn. And in that way, I'm appreciative of hearing Randy's story. I went through something myself, but again, hearing it from somebody else, it teaches you that lesson, and it makes it your own. So I hope everyone out there learned a little bit from Randy. I certainly did.
I certainly did. All right. Well, thank you so much, Randy. Thank you, Dr. James, for being part of this today. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today on the Voices of Courage show. You know, there's been a lot of wisdom shown today. One of the things that I want to mention, if your doctor does say, listen, I don't know the diagnosis, I don't know what this is, believe them. Okay. If they say, I don't know how to heal this, believe them, but don't stop your journey. Trust your instincts, go within, trust that little voice that's inside of you, and it will guide you to the next level, to the next level, and to the next level. And remember this, you're not alone. We do these shows because we want you to know that you are not alone. And you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to Dr. James. And we are here to answer any questions for you at any time. If you just go to our show page at Voices of Courage, it's our main show page, voicesofcourage.us. Email us. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions for you. From my heart to yours, take care until next time. Remember, you can heal it.